front of your camera, but go under the table.
A couple of days. Check out my podcast.
All right.
That was the appropriate
I have
response.
water. I have water and wine. That's it.
I want what Jesus turned it into.
All right.
Let me know.
Mike's all live. Make sure all right, Mike's all live.
Welcome, friends. You are live to POZ Impact, Houston's first radio show dedicated to people living with HIV, their friends and family on Real Talk 100 Radio. We have a very awesome show tonight. We have a 2020 presidential candidate running for president of 2020, Antonio Smith. You guys, we are super excited to have a 2020 candidate here to ask him some questions about what's happening with the HIV world, as well as just going on, you know, in other parts of the matter. So we're very excited, and we have a very special guest in the house. Ian is with us. He is with the Outcry Docu-Series, and this is what we wanted to talk about. He has a lot of hats that he wears, but we really wanted to talk about his Outcry Docu-Series that he's going to premiere September 12th at 7:30 at the River Oaks Theater, the Landmark Theater. If you guys have questions, please give us a call. Our number is 281-318-8650. I'm going to go ahead and give a little bit of, some time for everybody to introduce themselves. And we want to go ahead and start with our presidential candidate, Antonio. We are so grateful for you to be here with us. Go ahead and introduce yourselves to our listeners as well as to our live feed that we're currently on.
Yes, my name is Antonio T. Smith. Antonio T. Smith Jr. I am running for president of the United States, making a lot of noise. They keep trying to hate on the brother, though. That's all right. They be trying to do that. It's a money game, so we working on that money issue. Other than that, I've had a lot of success in business, and I like beer. I think that's good.
Nice. So what made you run for 2020 as a 2020 candidate, not previously? Have you run previously before?
No, never
or
ran.
Did you just decide that this was the year that you were going to step up to the plate?
Neither. To be honest with you, I graduated in 2000. I wrote a letter to myself that said, hey, loser, whatever you're doing, unloser yourself and make sure you run for president. So I did that, and I figured now was the time because I have two big passions. One is to create 100,000 millionaires. I've created 8 so far, so I'm far away from my goal, but I'm on the path of 100,000. And I really want to raise the collective consciousness of this world because, yeah, we got a lot of work to do. So that's what made me decide right now. I'm not Democrat, I'm not Republican, because both sides are guilty. But I'll let you ask that question.
All right, so let's go ahead and go around the room and introduce ourselves. You want to start with Ian? Go ahead, Ian. Go. You are my special guest. You brought in your crew with you, so go ahead and introduce yourself as well as your crew and what you guys are up to. You guys have a lot of things going on in the community, especially with HIV.
Yeah.
So this is really, I was super excited when you contacted me and you were like, hey, can we come on your show? I was like, yes, please do it.
This is amazing. So I am Ian L. Haddock. We're good?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, good. So I am Ian L. Haddock. I am the Executive Director of the Normal Anomaly Initiative. And we executive produced Outcry the Docu-Series.
Antonio.
Outcry the Docu-Series is the second.
Okay, you have it plugged in there?
The second iteration of Outcry. The first iteration is on Amazon Prime Video currently.
Nice.
And it's doing well there. This iteration is really special. It's looking at the church's relationship with sexuality as it relates to HIV, mental health, trauma, substance use, all of the effects of the trauma of the Black Christian church on the LGBT community and those living with HIV. And so we are premiering it on September 12th, like you said. It's at 7 p.m. Make sure you're there early because though I'm Black, I'm on time. But it is a sold-out event. We're super, super duper excited about it. So I brought a couple people here with me that are both a part of the board of the Normal Anomaly Initiative, and they are also the cast of Outcry the Docu-Series. So if we could just go around my peoples and introduce ourselves.
Yes, that would be awesome. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Nathan Maxey.
I'm Titan Capri.
I'm Kimberly Nicole.
Well, what do you guys do with the part of the group? You guys are also here as well too. I know that, but
Yeah.
it should be. Did you?
We got a lot of people in the interview. Y'all know how this goes.
I don't know if it's one. Can y'all hear me? No.
They're all up. Should be.
I'm talking into it.
Hello.
Hello. Okay. I am Kimberly Nicole. I am a program management assistant for the Normal Anomaly, as well as I work alongside Ian on the Real Gag, as well as I am a part of the docu-series.
I saw that. That's awesome. I'm really looking forward to seeing it. I haven't seen it on Amazon. I didn't know there's a 2-part series, so I'm really looking forward to making sure I see the first one so that I can be up to date with the second one. So what made you decide to do this documentary series? I mean, what was the inspiration?
So I consider myself a church queen. I say that very proudly. I love everything about the Black Christian church except for how it treats the people that go. And so I have been really passionate about, like, what does it look like to heal from a place that is supposed to give you healing. And so as I moved through this work, what I realized is that people that look like me, people that love like me, we all have these experiences, but the church has, in a lot of ways, silenced us. And so what happens is we have people that can never attain true healing because they are not accepted into the place that is supposed to be the hospital for our community. The Black church is the place where we have went for centuries. It's the first place that we actually own, Black people own, right? But it's the first place that I was disowned. And so just looking through what that looked like and compiling the stories of people, we reached out to AIDS United originally with this idea. And AIDS United gave us some seed money to do a pilot. And so the pilot was supposed to be just raw footage that we went around and tried to get more funding for. And that pilot turned into an actual series where we got funding from AIDS United, the Gilead Compass Initiative, along with University of Texas at Austin. And so what started out as a mere essay has turned into a complete series.
Wow, that's so amazing, that the vision behind it, and I'm so excited that that this is coming up to light, because I am not a church person. I'll get that out there.
Mm-hmm.
But just because I think they don't treat us well, so I'm like, why would I want to go to be part of a community that does not accept me for who I am, that I cannot be honest, I wouldn't be able to bring my partner or have a frank discussion of what my sexuality is. So I guess that was one of my reasons why I left the church a while back ago, and really never had anything to do with it. But I'm so glad that you guys are trying to bring back that bridge of communication of what it's actually meant to being an African American and having this relationship with your church, as well as HIV and poverty and all this information that we have to get, that and there's information about, but nobody's really talking about that particular stuff that feel like it's like a taboo, So it's bringing to light this taboo.
And what we found out, which was also not the plan, wasn't a deliverable in the grant, but what we found out is that a lot of churches desire this information, right? The same way we have felt disowned and left churches, with the new movement, especially with 42% of millennials that have left the black church, right? The black church is open to the conversation, in my opinion. We have about 6 churches that are represented throughout the series and are potentially represented in the future work that we will do. And 4 of them are non-affirming churches. And it's because I think our message is not about changing their theology. I know a lot of my community will want me to push, change your theology, accept us gays, men will lie with men, and it won't be abomination. But that's not necessarily my cross to bear. My cross is that you should move in love, and you should move in radical compassion, right? And so I believe when we start there and we begin to see the human in humanity, then we can overlook that. There's no way you can be a place for the sick and have a projection of 1 and 2 black gay men getting HIV. There's no way you can be a place for the hopeless and have 40% of homeless youth be LGBT. There's no way, right, you can be a place where wealth is built, where ownership is built, and though 83% of black people say they believe in God with unwavering faith, have 42% of millennials leave the church, right? So something is wrong.
Clearly. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I sounded like a politician. I'm not trying to.
So what does the document series mean to you guys? You guys are part of the cast as well too. You guys are very involved with it. What does I see Ian is part of it, but what you guys are part of it as well too. So is this personal to you guys as well too? Do you guys feel the same way, like the church has just abandoned?
Yeah, it's very personal. Ian is my son, and so he had me tell my story. I've been living with HIV in February will be 20 years. So I've never had a chance to talk to the person that, they don't use the word infected, but transmitted the virus to me. And so I tell my story, but the good part is that I've never got to confront the person, say anything to him. So Ian had a great idea that I write this letter to him, and that was healing for me. So even though I thoroughly didn't get to say anything to him, writing that letter through therapy and just being able to express how I felt and has been very therapeutic and very soul searching. So to share that intimate in the documentary is pretty heavy, but it is a part of healing for me as well. So that's the key thing that I do in the film.
Yes.
Oh, there it is. So I'm Titan Capri. For me, the documentary was similar to what Nathan stated. I am this year 14 years positive, and I had said to Ian that I was going to take this to my grave. And basically, Ian was like, "No, I think you need to tell your story. You need to tell your story." And I was like, "No, I don't want to." And he was like, "Yeah, I think you should." So it was one of those things, and I think it's time, right? As Ian stated earlier, there's a lot of kids, there's a lot of young individuals that are coming up that are not necessarily part of the church. They go to church, but they're not part of the church. Why? Because we're not accepted like that in the church. Like you said, I can't sit next to my partner, I can't do this, and so forth and so on. But I think this is a message that needs to be heard, that we're not just broken, right? We are people of love. We have families, we have lives and things like that, and we can coexist, right, in the church, the same as anybody. We're no different. And so I think for me in a documentary, that was an eye-opener, that I saw other individuals that were affected by this, like I am. And then also I've seen other positive individuals living lives and doing things and still being God-fearing and still loving God and loving the church as well. So that's what it did for me on that.
Thank you for sharing. That's,
Yeah,
you know, it's very powerful to share that, you know, that somebody has HIV.
Right.
And it's very personal. It's something that you I think everybody has that mentality that I want to take this to the grave. I don't care. I'm not going to tell anybody. That is that stigma that people are afraid of,
Right.
you know. And I think we should just we all as a society, we all need to get better at this,
Right.
and making sure that we address this. So I'm so glad that you guys are bringing awareness to this stigma as well too, of both, like, you know, the African community, the churches, as well as being, you know, HIV positive, because we all know that you guys are being infected. People of color or have a higher chance of being infected than a white person. And so, and that's just not, it's not because of anything, it's just really poverty, you know, lack of education, lack of information, lack of clinics in the area that predominantly are people of color that we see. If we can get the churches to say, hey, this is happening, you guys go get tested. You know, we need to start talking about this stuff. So if we can have the churches start addressing it, because people do go to church,
Yeah.
you know, and then we do see that, but that people are infected in churches, and they don't want to, because they're afraid to tell their pastor, I'm HIV positive, or what, you know, being afraid of coming down with that stigma of, don't sit next to this person has HIV, you know.
And I just I want Kimmy to talk, because she has a really powerful piece in the docu-series and in the premiere, what we're going to show in the documentary. But just for clarity, HIV is a racial issue, right? It's racism at its core. It's structural racism at its core. It is no reason why black and brown communities are affected, right, by HIV in the way that it is. It's a political, structural, racist issue, right? And what place do we have, right? What place do black people have that they go to on at least a monthly basis, right? In droves, right? The church.
That's right.
Right? And the fact that the place that we have as our safe space refuses to accept that this is a racist issue. This is not a homosexual issue, right? I'm a black gay man, and though I'm not living with HIV, most of the people that I talk to are not necessarily identifying as queer, right?
Yeah.
The reality is this is a racist issue, and I find a real problem with if a club tells me that they're not testing or posting some, I can curse on here.
Yes.
Posting
Yes.
some shit about HIV or mental health or substance use. I don't go to the motherfucking club, okay? So I can't go to a place where I convene that is supposed to love on me and supposed to heal me and supposed to build me up, and we can't talk about sex?
Yeah.
Hell no. Sorry.
That's exactly why we're here, to talk about this stuff, and it makes you hot. I see, and you're so passionate about it. I want that, and that's what's needed.
Right.
That passion is needed in the community, because the more that we stay quiet, the more that this is going to continue to happen to us.
Right.
And us as a community, not us as a race, but we need to, we have to put 2 and 2 together, and as you said, this is a racial, epidemic, that this is affecting you guys more than anything, and and we see that time and time again. It's just not in the South, Go ahead, you have the spotlight.
And if I get emotional, I don't need nobody saying anything. 'Cause anytime I talk about this, I get emotional. But for me, I am a millennial, of course. And I was raised in a household that was 100% die-hard, non-denominational Christian. My grandmother raised me, and she was the mother of the church. So I hid the fact that I enjoyed being in the company of another woman for a very, 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 very long time. So for me, yes, it is personal, and it was therapy, because I was able to share a story about me attempting suicide and dealing with those demons, and also learning to be okay with who I am as a lesbian woman. So it is extremely personal. And to add to that, I have also retreated to realizing that my heart is the church. You know what I mean? So I don't necessarily attend a church service. However, I am a believer.
Yes, and I think, for everybody, it has to draw their strength, from somewhere, and from some people, the strength is from the church, and we want our church just to be able to help us out and to guide us through. They're like our leaders. We go to them when we have hard times. We go to them when we're trying to get through a situation or marriage counseling. But there's nothing for the LGBT people. There's nothing for people living with HIV. There's nothing for people living with like, if you go tell your pastor, I have cancer, the whole organization will pray for you. They'll lay your hands on you.
Lay hands and do all that good stuff. Right.
But should you say, if somebody just got diagnosed with HIV,
it's time to get
it's
out.
time.
It's time to
Who are you?
Right. Exactly.
What's your name? Oh yeah, you don't longer belong here. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. What's interesting about it is there's this one lady in the docu-series that is a heterosexual black woman. She contracted HIV when she was 17. She's now 40. But what was super interesting about it was, in her story, she tells of her story about coming out, and she was coming out because pretty much coming out about her status to some people in the church, because she heterosexual, and I am, I did a lot of bad things because I didn't have no daddy, and she had this whole story that she was going up to the church to tell and admit, and she thought the church was going to embrace her because she was not having that gay sex.
Right.
And she was kicked out too.
Wow.
It's not funny, but I'm just saying, it just shows you, like where we are. And I also, really quick, because I really want to hear about the 2020 presidential candidate.
Yes,
I really
want to talk about this.
But
I president.
But I also want to say that there are some churches who are beginning to do this work. I want to shout out to Greenhouse International Church over there in Greens Point. They are amazing. Pastor Decker has invited me to the table many, many times. He is interested in collaborating and moving his ministry forward. One of his ministers that is under him, Prophet Andre Whiting, is actually a part of the documentary, although he is a straight ally. And he speaks on what it means to be a straight ally. So that's super, super dope. I also want to shout out St. John's Downtown. They were a part of the pilot episode, a huge part. When I say Pastor Rudy laid out the red carpet for us, gave us space to do whatever, to record whatever, to talk to whoever, however, not with him in in the space because he wanted them to be as authentic as possible. And there are a couple other ones that, you know, they ain't really came around, so I ain't gonna like give them no free exposure, but I will say, you know, and though they are not what, you know, though Greenhouse is not saying, oh, I accept this, right?
Yes.
They are making steps and they're trying to figure out how to work through this and how to work through the trauma, because the truth of the matter is, we can be honest, though I stand with my black LGBT folks, the reality is we haven't been, once we're wrong, we're not very nice. And so the deeper our trauma, the more traumatic we become to them. And so it's a process on both ends for us to work through our trauma and also for the church to begin to work through the process of how do they deal with that trauma.
You know, it's funny that you say that, church, because I think I've reached out to you as well too. I was there for a NACA conference, and I was like, you know, this is part of POZ Impact is to start going to churches as well too. I'm still new. I'm a new beginner, so this is where I'm going to lean on you.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, oh, do you know Ian? I was like, yes. And then he's like, oh yeah, he's a member of my congregation. I was like, oh wow, okay, so I know, at least I know somewhere where I can get my foot in the door. But he was so receptive to it. He's like, yes, I want to do something. We'll do something about it. We'll host a testing site here if you need me to. I was like, oh, okay. I was not expecting that from him.
Yeah.
His openness.
Yeah,
and so I'm glad that you guys have been working together for a long time. You know, for a while. But you know, let's get back to this 2020
forget that
presidential.
president. Don't worry about all that. Yeah, we stay right on topic. Yeah.
What is your plan to end HIV? Let's just start, you know, hardcore. We have an epidemic. That is, as you heard, it's a racial thing.
Hell yeah, it is.
You know, so how are we going to? What is your vision? The 2020 presidential candidates have announced their vision for, you know, how to, like, oh, we're gonna go ahead and increase funds to, you know, part of the Healthcare Equality Act, and we'll give some funds here, we'll give some funds here. The administration has provided funding or support. They cleared funding, but they've also taken away funding. So it's like a double-edged sword. You're gonna give me funding, but you're gonna take away. You're going to give me funding for PrEP or for treatment and prevention, but you're going to take away funding to see how we can cure this disease. So it's like, what are you doing? How are you doing this? So, Antonio, what is your big plan to end this epidemic?
How real do I get to be? Because
this is Real Talk 100.
That's how I promised folk before I got here. I promised folk I wouldn't go be woke. I was just going to say I really did, but they forcing me. All right, they forcing me. First off,
You're forcing him. Yes,
you really are. You really are, because I really have no filter as it is. Everything y'all doing is fantastic. I'm a straight ally. I absolutely. It's all me. You can document it on my page for years. I think, I hate to use the phrase gay bashing, but it is accurate with the church. We have failed. I don't know how to say that any political way. We have absolutely failed as a church. We have no idea what to do with anything of mental disease. We have no idea what to do any disease that's not cancer. And we absolutely are so afraid of not being in control that we kill anything that makes us afraid, right? For instance, when I don't like gays, that has nothing to do with me, I'm just speaking on behalf of the church, right? It comes from two different places. Now, this is cognitive behavioral therapist talking. It comes from two different places. It comes from place number one, I got some hidden issues in me, right? Because anything I don't like, I tend to be exactly like. That's number one. But more prevalently, what you have is we are scared as hell that if God loves Ian, then I don't have a cornerstone or a corner market on God. it absolutely puts me in fear that God could be so loving that he loves Ian. This is real talk.
Preach, sir.
This is real talk.
That doesn't make sense. Love.
We preach, first off, we only want people saved that we like. That's number one. We're going to have to call a spade with a spade. Y'all said I could be real, right? You know what I'm saying? If we like you, then you can get this salvation.
Right.
If we don't, we're going to cut that off. And the only, I really hate to use the word sin here, the only thing that we really cut off grace for is what you would call homosexuality. But nowhere in any of the sacred texts is this a salvific issue. It's just not. It's just not. Under no circumstances. Our problem is I've become pastor and I've become ignorant at the same time. I was already ignorant, but now my title has made me more ignorant. I'm like a cop that never was cool in school, never was cool with the girls. Now I got a gun and a badge. I'm crazy. And preachers are the same way. I mean, no disrespect, no preachers, but you understand. I got a Bible, pulpit, now I'm cool.
Right.
Now you not. You understand? Anyway, that ain't answer your question, but
so tell me, what's the plan?
We need to absolutely admit a couple of things. If you're gonna end it, for one, now this is businessman talking. For one, we gotta kill the money. Forget funding, right? We have to respect the fact that, like cancer, ain't nobody trying to heal or fix this. It's too profitable. We just gotta respect that, right? It's far too profitable to fix it. In fact, the hospitals are not here to save your life. They're here to prolong your death. How about that? So as long as we can keep you on medicine that keep your T cells at the right count, not a good count, just the right count, then we're gonna keep that going. Why would any capitalist profiting billions of dollars stop the issue? So we gotta kill the money, not fund areas, because the more you fund is the more you incidentally take that same money to the people who want you to have it.
Okay, 2020. All right.
I mean, think about the black church since we brought it up. The black church is pushed out their neighborhoods by the white bank. You take in all these black dollars, but the white bank then pushes you out of your black church neighborhood because you taking that money and putting it with people who don't have your agenda in mind. So in truth, to concisely answer your question, the problem is not the funding. The problem is the fact the money needs to die. Period. People need to stop getting paid for salaries, stop getting paid for positions. It's no different than if you make Congress make $7.25 an hour, Congress will act differently. Well, in the same way that you make these corporations benefiting from charging 1,025% for HIV medication. Right? As soon as you stop that, this will stop. And we gonna have, now this is my woke side coming out. And we gonna have to just admit, my man over here said, it is a racist issue. Now let me just get real, let me just lose my whole voter base real quick. Because crack cocaine and HIV came out around the same time.
Yeah.
Right.
To the same neighborhoods.
Right.
Yes.
You understand? And I know the cover story. I know the official story is a chimp and all that. I get it. But we're going to have to respect the fact that the only virus known to mature brains that attacks white blood cells is HIV. The way viruses work is mitosis, they just double.
Yeah.
And they double to the point to where your immune system gets overwhelmed.
Exactly.
That's not the way HIV works. It works like a war. It doesn't overwhelm your immune system. It literally targets your immune system. That is not natural.
Right.
There is not a disease on planet Earth that targets any blood cells. What happens is they just double and overwhelm your body so now you can't heal because there's too much going on. HIV works no way in nature does. And we're going to have to admit that, and we're going to have to admit it's weaponized, and we're going to have to kill the people profiting off of it. And forget presidential stuff. That is answer your question, but it's trash, and we need to admit that. And it's the only way you're going to fix it is go right after the hearts of the people and the pockets of people, which will get you killed, going after people's pockets, right? Going after that, telling that truth, then you'll solve that problem.
Wow. Yes. You know, and round of applause, guys.
I'm moved.
I'm pretty moved.
It's hard to move me.
You have a question?
Oh no! I just want to say I'm moved.
I appreciate you.
You know, we have a huge problem with, you know, immigration. We have a huge problem with you know, our healthcare system. Texas did not advance the Medicaid portion of it. And so our premiums, I think I just saw a news article that said that the premiums for healthcare in Texas are one of the highest premiums in all of the states. So people are like upset that like, oh, Obamacare failed or this failed. No, actually did not fail. It's because our state representatives are currently. So we need something in the federal level. We need the presidential, we need Congress to act, you know, to give healthcare to everybody. I want healthcare for all. That is my vision. Is that your vision?
Absolutely. And come on, first off, forget common sense. That is humane, right? At the end of it, let me just, is Nina, right? Did you say Nina? Kim. Okay, excuse me. He bringing my wokeness out. This ain't my fault when I'm about to say.
You're fine.
Cool. This ain't my fault. First off, my core belief is we're all connected. Right. And I don't mean that as no metaphor. I mean there's one of us in this room. Period. Right? Now, since you church, I'm going to go ahead and say God. There's God in this room, and each individual person is each individual manifestation of said God.
Yeah.
And at no point does your disease stop you from being God.
Yeah.
At all. Right? So to say that you don't deserve universal health care is to steal brown people's religion. Colonize it. I'm trying so hard not to.
No, just say
and then say we don't want immigrants over here no more. Right? Everywhere, in the same manner in which wherever there is a Federal Reserve, wherever there's a central bank, there's an American ally. Same manner in which wherever there was a Republican governor, Obamacare did not work. Period, point blank. Right. And the major issue is this shouldn't even be a question if we should have universal health care. It is more of a question of the shadow side of capitalism. We don't want universal health care because I'm going to intentionally, by 125%, devalue the dollar. If you Google right now, not to say anything bad about any president, but if you Google right now, Trump wants the dollar devalue, then you're going to see the International Money Fund agree with that the American dollar is 15 to 19% overvalued. You'll find that article June 2019. We can't wait. I'm rich. So I am concealed by my own economy. But what we do is when we get to the top 1%, we make it harder for you to make money. And then we write laws so I don't have to work that hard. The universal health care is not a matter of common sense because everybody wants it. It is a matter of the fact that I got here, I made money, and I don't want you to make money. And that's just something that we're going to have to grip and admit because I've devalued the dollar so much it takes a whole lot of effort for you to make what I have made. And every time you catch up, I devalue it even more. It's been happening. It's going to continue to happen. And it sucks. I don't know what to tell you.
Well, thank you for saying that. If you guys are just joining in, we are live with POZ Impact. We're Houston's first radio show dedicated to people living with HIV, their friends and family, on Real Talk 100 Radio. We're thankful that we have Antonio here with us, and we have the Outcry cast with us that is premiering September 12th at 7 p.m. at the landmark River Oaks Theater.
Wow.
Go check it out, you guys. If you guys have not bought your tickets yet, I think there's like 12 tickets left.
It's sold out.
It's sold out completely. So there is no more tickets left available, guys.
Can't
So,
even
wow. Okay,
Can't even bootleg the ticket.
it is sold out. So if you did not get your ticket, you're going to have to wait till the next screening available. I'm sure there will be another one.
Yes.
But
They're going to sell that one out too.
Yes.
Indeed.
Yes.
You better speak it.
That's it.
You better speak it.
For sure. And, I'm so excited to be part of it. And it's the same, at the same time as a Democratic presidential candidate. Was that a mere?
So I reached out to a theater. The theater, Landmark, they've been so nice to us. But I originally reached out to another theater because I wanted that Saturday. But then I got to connect at the River Oaks Theater, and they was like, Thursday is the best day. And I looked at that Thursday and I said, oh my gosh, that's the presidential debate. Oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And I said, until these Democrats start talking about who they're actually going to be behind, there are 150, 160 people that I can take away from the debate. They'll be okay to sit there and watch what I create. That, in a lot of ways, is probably going to be much more of a change agent than some of these presidential candidates.
All right, yes. That's real talk because as I was looking through my calendar, I was like, oh my goodness, this is the same time, but I didn't watch the first two, so I'm not really missing on the third one. I didn't tell these they're not going to really talk about anything specifically. They're not exactly. So that's why I was like, well, let me go get educated first because I want to see the series. I'm really interested in. I saw the preview and I was like, wow, this is hardcore. It's going to be really emotional to the viewers as well too. To see it and at a theater, so it's gonna be a raw emotion to it, and I'm like, wow, like this is what we're looking for. This is what we're needing to have this conversation as well too. So thank you for being the mind. Thank you for having this.
I have to say, like, I really don't know what
design.
Yeah, thank you. I really don't know where it came from. Anybody around me will tell you that, like, I kind of have an idea, and then like I just go until it's done. But I really have to be thankful for my tribe. They sit over here on my side right now, not saying much, but a lot of this belongs to them. My name is at the top somewhere, but it's not because I'm climbing on them. It really is because they're holding me up. My pops literally took me in, introduced me to what HIV looked like. I thought it looked like death. Did what, 20 years? 20 years living with HIV. I met him, how long has it been?
16 years.
Like 16 years ago. So I've been with him throughout a large part of it. And he gave me the agency to say, like, I can do whatever I want to do, however I want to do it. Was homeless and a prostitute, and he brought me into public health. So definitely a support system. And these two I've really gotten close to in the last year, Titan and Kimmy. But there really is no other. They ride for me like nothing. They listen to my crazy ideas. They try to give me pushback. I think they probably learned that it won't work.
You do. We have to gang up on Ian, like 1, 2, 3, 4 people. Like, no, that's not gonna work.
1, 2, 3, 4. No, Ian, this is not working. But this did work.
Yes.
So his vision and his thoughtfulness of how to create it and how to put the aspect together and how to ask questions and how to follow through with it and put from start to end. And I saw you got so many sponsors. I was like, wow, this actually is amazing that people are giving you money to get this document out there, to making sure that people can hear, can see the other side of the story, that they can listen and learn and maybe take away something that who do you think who do you want to be more affected, or like what's your targeted audience of that you want, if somebody can take away after viewing this, what is your goal to happen?
So it's really interesting. I started out with this, and the focus was going to be on churches. So making sure clergy saw it. We're working on a project, doing cultural humility trainings for black churches. So we wanted to use this as training modules, if you would, for black churches on 5 social components of why we deal with HIV and LGBT and sexuality in the churches in traumatic ways. But as it moved, this is a healing exercise in art.
Yes.
This is I think that anybody that can watch it, it is black queer folk and those adjacent to it and those living with HIV. But I think white women, black women, that's what's so powerful about it. I did a pre-premiere at the United States Conference on AIDS, and it was a white woman in the crowd, and I think she cried harder than any of the black queer men in there, because it really is an exercise of healing through art. And so now, what I am hoping, because I think that if people can see themselves, no matter the fact that all you're gonna see is melanin on the screen, but if you can see yourself, and you may see a big boy in makeup, and you may see a masculine woman in dreads. Okay, so but the power is that you'll still be able to see yourself, and your journey, and just dealing with like, how do I get to a place? That's my problem with the LGBT community. If I can just be transparent. My problem with the LGBT community is, like, a lot of times we sit in the space of our trauma and our victimization, and we sit there and we want to have conversations about what you did to me wrong and how you affected me and how I didn't grow from that and how I'm affected and affected by this, and we never give solutions. We never move towards resolution. I was really intentional. The only thing that I've been intentional about with this is to make sure that there is some resolution, some healing at the end of this.
You just got back from USCA.
Yeah.
Can I pick, like Ashton went there as well too, and he was telling me I'm gonna have him back on our show, because I was like, you need to tell me how it was, the experience of, like, what did you learn from it? You went there, what did you come back? What knowledge did you gain from being over there? I know your documentary got premiered over there as well too. But what I wasn't able to follow it, so I'm gonna have you give me the 411 of what was it about, and what
I want you to respond too, but I because my pops was there with me. What I got from it is you got to lead with race. People are not gonna like it, but when you're in a space and you're dealing with racial issues, you have to lead with race. The most powerful, in my opinion, and this is an argument, but the most powerful organization at USCA, other than NMAC, the National Minority AIDS Council. Hey, thanks for letting me be your social media fellow. But the most powerful organization there was the Positive Women's Network.
Okay.
Because black women always save us.
Yes.
Black women have always saved us. And so though I identify, so though I identify as a black queer man, and I was raised by an effeminate father, he's still my second favorite black gay woman.
Who's the first?
My auntie. Okay. No, but seriously, the most powerful organization there was PWN, and it's because black women don't mind say what black men are afraid to.
Boy, you is talking.
And so a lot of times I had to lean on Positive Women's Network, because they will walk into spaces and say, what you're not going to do.
Right.
This is how we're going to talk. This is where we're going to go. This is what we're going to do. They actually organized with some other organizations a protest that they went to National Minority AIDS Council and said, we're protesting the guy that you're bringing, and we're walking on stage, so are you going to let us? And they did.
Yeah, he's the head of CDC.
Right.
So, yeah, right in the middle of the speech with Joy Reid on stage, they went right up there and telling him what they're demanding that CDC do. So
This is
my
the Women's
perspective,
Power- this is the women's
Positive Women's Network.
Positive Women's Network. Yes,
Right.
they were actually on my show here, and Tana was.
Yeah, Tana, yeah.
Yeah. She was on a show with Crystal. She's with AIDS and HIV Houston, and it was our largest show to date. We had like over like 25 and 100 views, and it's compared to like our 200, which is normal. But yes, I mean, I'm. Go ahead. I want to hear what you experienced from that.
So as someone living with HIV, person living with HIV, I took a different perspective. You know, I looked at Gilead was the main sponsor. So the whole theme is in the HIV epidemic, but Gilead provides the medication and saving my life.
Yes.
As the sponsor, do they really want to end the HIV epidemic?
No.
You know, so that's the first perspective. And, you know, real work is advocacy work. I look at how they want to end the HIV epidemic, and now it's through biomedics. So it's this whole thing now. It's the science is how we're going to get rid of HIV. That's interesting, and just what I need to, you know, for my own self, how are they going to do that? And so they're counting on science and missing out on the human.
Yeah.
You know, they're not focusing on the health disparities. Another thing I noticed about the conference is that they had several different tracks. So they had a gay men's track, women and HIV. There was nothing around mental health. Not one single topic. And so if we're going to really end the epidemic, we've got to start talking about mental health. So mental health just plays a huge part of who you are, trauma. So I think that part was missing. But it was some positive moments with it. And I think the most important is that there's so many people out there, allies and us living with HIV, that are really advocating for the rights and bringing the subject matter, making sure that it's still a topic that is being discussed. We just got a long way to go. You know?
Last thing. I really enjoyed it, but I always think about, like, it was at, and it was a wonderful time, but I just, you know, I was sitting back thinking, because I have social anxiety, so I had a bit of a time to think, because there was like 1,500 people, and there was too many people sometimes for me, so I went in my room, but it was at the Marriott Marquis. It was in downtown D.C. I think registration, though, we didn't pay registration, it was like $800.
$500 to $800.
$800. And it was beautiful. I mean, Gilead was all down the escalators. They had this beautiful setup in the exhibit hall.
They had Joy Reid.
They had Joy Reid, Ian Haddock. Yeah, it was really,
Star packed.
it was really big. And so I just wonder, so I'm a self-employed activist running a small nonprofit. I write my own grants, just building a board, right? But I don't have insurance.
Yeah, that's
And I'm on PrEP.
Yeah.
I don't like city clinics because city clinics don't treat you nice. So as an activist who pretty much puts his life out on the line every single day to create things that potentially has enough money to eat, I don't struggle eating or having food or having gas, but I surely can't afford $2,000 in medication. So y'all can spend $2,000 on me to come out there, which I'm grateful for. Cool, cute. I get to show my film. I get more eyes on it. But I have to get PrEP from my friends with their extra refills.
Dang.
It doesn't make sense.
Dang.
So do you mind me asking what clinic do you use? Who do you?
Oh, so originally,
I mean, since
this
you don't,
is-
I mean, there's
yeah.
because Legacy offers free PrEP, St. Hope, Avenue 360. These are all clinics that I am learning of as of recently, but
So it was really interesting. And I love AIDS Healthcare Foundation. I'm actually I'm the president of Impulse Group. Woohoo! But I did go there, and this is just their policy. Their policy is for PrEP, like you can go in there and you can use their services without insurance if you're living with HIV. But if you're not living with HIV, in order to go to the doctor, you have to have insurance. And so I actually have an appointment with Legacy coming up, so that I don't have to steal people's Truvada. But I make that point openly and outwardly because it's just a really interesting thought that not only was I on PrEP, but I was on PrEP really specifically because I was in sex therapy for like years, right? So just like figuring out what sex looked like and why was I doing it in a way that was really hazardous to my health, right? And so looking at the fact that I could easily seroconvert, I say this, y'all know I'm real transparent when I talk about this. Weeks ago I got gonorrhea, maybe like a month and a half ago. Had to go to a clinic to get shot up, and it was so stigmatizing because they said, "Hey, I know you. You're with Impulse Group." Y'all not understanding all the other traumas that I'm dealing with, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So when you come to me and I go to spaces like that, I enjoy the space. I love the space. I think USCA, we need a place like USCA, right? But though I am leading in this community, I am still in some ways failing in my personal life based upon the restrictions that the people who sponsor this conference have on my health.
Real talk. Yeah, I mean that's exactly why we need healthcare. We need access to PrEP on demand, not on demand, but I should say like as a preventative care. I know that there's San Francisco and New York that are that's doing very well in saying that okay, we're gonna now you can get PrEP over the counter. I don't know how I feel about that because you still need to get your blood work done. You still need to get your test. So if I just because I can get the pill, what about my other stuff? What about my 3 months of lab work that I need to get to making sure that I'm still negative, to making sure that my bone loss is not true. All the side effects that come with Truvada, and making sure that you are healthy enough. So just because you have the pill doesn't mean you actually get the results from it, because you may take it once, stealing from here, or, borrowing from a friend here, borrowing from a friend there.
Can't borrow nothing you can't return.
Okay. But it's really important that we have to start talking about healthcare, because that is part of the healthcare system that we, mental health. We talk about, I just joined the Ryan White external committee. And they were saying that HIV does have some kind of we have a protected class kind of, because our funding comes from Congress. Diabetes doesn't really come from Congress. Cancer doesn't come from Congress. There is no particular funding for anything other than HIV that comes from directly Congress approves money for HIV. And so this is where they want is to be able to get access to PrEP through this new grant that the current administration has put out to. But I don't know how well that would work with people not having to get I can get the medication, but I can't get the blood work done.
Right.
So it's like
That's
it's like a catch-22
No,
issue.
the medication for me is free.
Correct. Yes, but
I can't get the blood work right.
Yes.
But,
and you got to realize that it's not about. It's also increasing PrEP users. The rate of STDs is rising.
Yeah.
So we have to talk about that. So you take your PrEP, they won't get HIV, but there's still the risky sex that's been happening, and people not going and getting treated and tested for STD. And that's the thing about.
Can we say condomless?
Yes, we can. We're having
I don't like the term risky.
Yeah, I don't like risky. I'm trying to use language that is risky, but everything is risky. Walk outside.
Yeah, okay, everything is risky.
Right. Yeah. So just condomless sex. There we go. That's not happening. And rather, it's all about a decision you make. So, like you be responsible and you go and get yourself tested, and,
Yeah.
you know, and there's not being stigmatized. I mean,
Yeah.
many people will live with STD and just be embarrassed about it and don't get treated, and that's where the stigma comes in at.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I want to.
So, Mr. President, yes.
Yes, our president.
Yes, as long as it's not a presidential question.
No.
I want to stay on the subject.
Yeah. No, I'm interested in what it would look like to. How are you centering marginalized communities in your
Yeah. A few. I was just googling while you was talking.
Mhm.
I have something said. Well, I want to Google how many people were affected by the opioid crisis, and I just saw it was 2000. In 2015, it was 2 million people. I was like, man, that should have been like 50, 100 million the way the media, which with respect to that. And then I already know the numbers on HIV.
Right.
And when you brought a thought process to my mind. Okay, Congress funded, but why is the opioid crisis getting far more media attention than the age? Anyway, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Okay, all right. The poverty is the main issue. Period. Point blank. It's the main issue to your question. Every single thing centers around poverty. Now, the company that I have has a $22 minimum wage, so I'm already fighting this marginalized issue. Right? I'm talking about the janitor. 22. Yeah. $22. Plug that in real quick. $22. So I'm answering your question with facts. Like what I'm really doing. $22 minimum wage. Women get 1 year paid maternity leave because it's absolutely stupid to rip a child from her mother. I mean, from its mother, right? They don't make sense. So these are issues, the real issues that we gotta fix when it comes to these marginalized communities that are impacted, because poverty is a real issue. Yeah. So we gotta stop giving out jobs that make $7.25 an hour. At least that's here in Texas, right? It's Texas talk, because it's not a job. It takes according to CNBC. It takes $93,000 a year to live comfortably in a metropolitan area. $94,000 if you're renting. So anything less than that is the issue, right? You understand what I'm saying? So we need to absolutely fix wages, and we can do all that without raising taxes. Man, my whole life is surrounded by creating income-producing assets that pay for my liabilities. The government can do the same very thing. We do it with fees and taxes and all this stuff. We can take, for instance, we can fix student loans by putting a carbon emissions fee on every corporation or business that is going past the accepted carbon emissions rate. Charge them all that the same way they do overdraft fees in banks. Same way. They're doing it, or I know y'all old enough to remember Blockbuster Friday nights. You understand, right? Rewind, be kind.
Be kind, rewind.
Yeah, that's it, right? So the same way we charging fees, we can take those. You make billions of dollars charging corporations that. Then turn right around, take all that money, throw it into education, and take care of every last student loan without ever raising a tax. And you can turn around and do the same thing for every HIV problem, every marginalized problem that we have. We can do it, but we won't, because there is a system in place that does not want certain people. And by certain, I'm way past black and white. I'm now talking about, it's most certainly brown people, right? But it's past that now, because debt slavery has no respect of color. As long as you got a job or you're in debt, you got a mortgage, they got you too. The only way they gonna care is if, as long as I'm in the hole, you driving the truck. Yeah. That's what. But they're carrying extent. Don't pass that, because all of us, not me anymore, but in debt slavery. So we gotta fix this marginalized stuff, man, by literally putting money in people's pockets, because poverty is the root of all evil. Period. Point blank. And one thing you said earlier too about allies, well, you said it, but I just thought about it. we got to take some credit. You were saying, you know, the problems you got with the community. There's a problem with the ally community that I would have to liken, and this is going to be very bad. I'm about to lose more voters right now. It's going to be very bad.
You're losing a lot.
I'm losing a lot, man. You know what I'm saying? But this is Real Talk 100. I can't be fake on Real Talk 100, right? Can't be fake on POZ Radio. Yeah. You have a lot of I'm finna do white and black, and I'm finna do allies and gay. I'm about to, you know, remember the toss test, or if this is to that, then that is to this. A lot of white people say I'm not racist. It's fine. I'm not finna do that on this radio show. But you still was in the crowd while the hangman was hanging me on the tree. That makes you more guilty because you let it be acceptable. Well, allies are equally or more guilty than the people persecuting y'all because we let it be acceptable.
Silence is violence.
It is.
Yeah.
Right? The truth is we let it be acceptable to where y'all can get all the stuff that happens, and we ain't got time to get into this show. And we gotta change that culture. It just is what it is. So.
I'm inviting you to the real game.
Yes, we need to show, you know, like there's different politicians that are out there who are talking what we are talking about. That are listening to what we're listening about. You know, that are having the discussions that we're having the discussions about. You know, a lot of people when we bring in candidates, they're, you know, yes, they'll give me an answer. They'll read around the question, but you know, like we need specific what's going to happen with this, what's actually going to happen with this, because we've been telling you this already. I don't need you to tell me what's happening in your community. You should already know what's happening in my community. This is already, you know, it's nothing new. This has been going on for a long time. So what are you going to do? How do you plan on fixing the community? So that's why I love Antonio.
Yeah, everybody got somebody gay in their family. Man, that's been happening since I was 4. With my knowledge, right? My #1 selling T-shirt online, like on my presidential website, is I got 2 for LGBTQ community, and literally a woman holding a flag, a rainbow flag. It's been on my. It's like go to AntonioTSmithJr.com, and I am open with my whole presidential candidacy has been largely about, I call it Rise to the 97%, like stop the persecution of what we call gays, right? It's far more than that, but you get what I'm saying, right? It's on there. I'm public with this. This is like you'll be hard pressed to find a track record of me not fighting for that because it's stupid. For one, I don't fight horizontal battles. I mean, we got to keep it real here, right? Ain't nobody gay ever stopped money from coming out of my pocket.
Right.
It's never happened. I've never had nobody roll up on me and be like, "You black, die," and it was gay. It never happened. I never had a Muslim roll up on me and have a problem. You understand, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, real talk. My issue is a vertical issue of people who don't want me to have money because I look like what you know, it's something like that.
Yeah.
These horizontal battles ain't got, man, look. Ain't nobody, and you allow me that colloquialism, please. Ain't nobody out here in y'all community bothering me. Yeah. This never happened. But we damn sure bother you as much as we possibly can. Right? And we just gonna have to accept that, man. I'm sorry. But
can we talk about women's rights and how, you know, like, there's real...
Now you won't be acting up.
Yes. You know, right now, women have no power over their bodies. And I just don't understand how we are in 2019 and women still don't have control over their own bodies to say when or not they should have an abortion.
I am not surprised, okay? And I'm gonna keep it real with you. It's wrong. With Alabama and it was another state that abortion. First off, if you got a penis, shut up. I'm just gonna tell you this straight up, right? What should happen is women, the same way we got NATO, right, a coalition of countries, we need to have a coalition of women telling women what to do with their bodies, period. It don't make sense that I, Well, it ain't me because it ain't me. They actually
It's the man.
look like
Right.
you. It ain't me.
Right.
Yeah, right. Telling women what to do with their bodies. But here's the deal. The reason I'm not surprised, because the black man, 3/5 person, got the right to vote before the white woman. This is in American history. So I'm totally not surprised that women don't have rights over their bodies, because this is folk trying to control their wives. But remember, me as 3/5 person, they debated if I even had a soul. And then said, but you get to vote first. You sleeping with your wife and she can't vote. But
Yeah.
your property can vote. So ain't no you shouldn't even be surprised. I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying that is the American way. We're just gonna have to eat that, right? We're gonna have to eat the fact that women have never been treated right in America. Period. I dare you. You can say make America great all you want to. That is for white men. That ain't got nothing to do with white women. That has no. White women do not embody or benefit from making America great again, at all. Not at all. The most beautiful thing I saw was the most beautiful thing I saw right when Trump got president. All them women marched. It was fantastic. It was a great show of solidarity. And then they went back to their oppressive husbands. That's the facts, right? I mean, this okay. I just want to make sure I'm still living in the real world, right?
So, how do you plan on giving women their rights? Will you pack the Supreme Court? Do you believe in adding more justices to the Supreme Court, and that way we can pass laws to making sure that we can have women the right to vote, making sure that or having the women the right to choose, whatever their case is, just over the control of their own body. And I think that's how specific and period as it should get, and that's the end of the story. What's your views on packing the Supreme Court, or how would you making sure that if we don't have the Congress, or if Congress is like, no, Democratic Congress could be, say, we don't have, this is not our fight, or we don't really want to go through this process yet, we'll take it up on the back burner. That should be a core issue, because women don't have the equal respect right now. Also, equal pay. It takes a person of color. I think it's like until you're just this year, like it's August or September before you guys make it for the next year.
Oh, yeah.
So you guys are just barely making what a white person made now, just for last year. So you guys are a whole year, and women are even further behind.
Yep.
So when we're talking about equality, we also need to start talking about equity.
Yep.
Because we don't have equity anymore. We've been fighting for equality for so long that we are no longer talking about the equity behind it, because just because we are all equal doesn't mean that we all have the same benefits. Doesn't mean that the benefits that apply to me should apply to you. It should be so, like, go ahead, yes, please.
I'm going to work backwards. I was putting everything you said in my memory files. Let's talk about equality first. Equality is a bunch of trash. I'm going to tell you that as a president candidate of the United States, equality is trash. Because equality does not exist nowhere in nature. And as long as you keep saying equality, you'll never have equity. Period. Right? There's not an equal snowflake, equal blade of grass, equal animal, equal nothing. Not an equal HIV virus, not an equal T cell. There's no equality nowhere in nature. The only way you achieve what we call equality is somebody got to give up something. Period. And if you are not willing to give up something, you would never achieve equity. So who is in power must give up power to then give the weak more power. That's in every sacred text. That's in every single great teacher that's ever lived on planet Earth, right? How the King James Bible said, the strong must bear the infirmities of the weak, right? So you can't say equality and then try to actually have equity, because the two can't coexist together. They just cannot. Big problem with the church. If I make grace equal, grace will stop. Period. I paid your rent last year. Can't do it. Paid your rent 2 months ago. Can't do it. No. Grace is never meant to be equal. It is absolutely meant to be unequal, unfair, unmerited, and you're not supposed to justify or put righteousness or any rules to grace. That's how you get equity, when you take legality out of it. That's number one. Number two, as far, now you asked some really good questions. As far as the Supreme Court goes, you had three things jumbled up in there. For one, I take parties completely out of that. That's really our issue. So I have no choice. I would normally tell you we don't need no more Supreme Court justices because it's already messed up. But at this point, unless you add more, you can't fix the problem. You really can't, because as long as someone is in president, one of the first things the first thing a president does is use his 100 days, the honeymoon period. The second thing that president does after the honeymoon period is over, immediately appoints a Supreme Court justice if he can, because there ain't no she's in there, right? If he can. And of course it's going to be matching their party. So now if you gerrymander in districts, in which we are, and if you are making sure that voting is not online, because if you have voting on, we put a man on the moon, but we don't have voting online. Why? We vote for American because the people who would vote online don't vote for the grand old party.
Exactly.
Right? The people who vote online won't vote for the grand old party because they actually know how to use a computer and they can Google your lies. Right. And there is no way that I'm going to put online voting if my job is to protect my lobbying that I'm getting ready to retire to. Right? So we need to get rid of lobbying. We need to establish these online voting, but we won't. That's why immigration is a big deal. Listen, y'all, everybody, NPR reported this year that immigration is at an all-time low, at least from the Mexican border. Damn walls don't stop planes. All our immigration comes from people overstaying their visa.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with the Mexican border. But the reason why we are tripping over immigration is because the people who are coming over, if they decide to stay, they're going to need some assistance, and the party of assistance is not the party that is grand old party. So our issues are, we make them color, but it's not it. It is about protecting the livelihood and the paychecks of our legacies so we can stay in power. Concisely, women are never going to get power or equity they deserve, because as long as men are making rules, then men need to give up power to give those women equity. More concisely, we don't vote online. We fight against immigration, not because it's a big deal, not because it's hurting the economy, because if I let y'all in, it'll tip the balance and I won't be in party no more. And lastly, Supreme Court is a bunch of BS as long as it continues the way it is, because we're not picking the most qualified person. We're picking the person that I can put in power, so when I die, they name a school after me. Yeah. And keep my party in power.
Can we talk about foreign affairs? You know, Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan.
Yep.
We are in like 5, 6, 20 wars at the moment with so many countries. Libya. You know, how we've been in war with Afghanistan for 20 years, 18 years.
Yep.
How do you envision yourself being as president, getting our troops safely out of Afghanistan, but also making sure that we're responsible in a responsible way, you know?
Yep.
Not only Afghanistan, Syria, all those Arab countries that are out there, you know, we are dominating them, but nothing's happening. We're fighting this lose-lose war that no progress, or I see no progress that's benefiting me as an American. Like, we're supposed to be stopping these terror attacks from coming, but what's really happening? What's really going to go on with foreign policy? You know, Iran, you know, the nuclear deal.
Yep.
Should they get nuclear weapons? You know, Russia has nuclear weapons.
Which is the only power that can actually afford them. But keep going.
You know, but you know what I'm saying is, you know, just how are we going to get out of all these wars that we're currently in? I mean, world peace. We talk about world peace as it's like something that is out of reach, but in reality, it really is not out of reach if we can just set aside the money, you know. But maybe that's hard to think of. But if we can, you know, if the United States can be the leader in it and say, okay, this is what's gonna have to happen, or maybe live your life as you want to, just don't come to us. I mean, I don't know what the magic word is or what the magical solution would be, you know, but there's people way smarter than I am out there. But I do know that I want to be out of this war. I do know what I want our troops out of there. We have other things that we should be, you know, addressing other than trying to, you know, people being killed, having having a treaty with the Taliban that's recently been that our current administration is currently trying to do. What's your thoughts on, you know?
Oh, I got way more than thoughts on this. Well, it doesn't matter. I'm going to answer it anyway. The way we get out is the same way we got in. We just get out, okay? There is no solution because we keep colonizing. There is never a solution to colonizing but stop colonizing. We're going to have to accept that, okay? Let's look at what you call the Age of Isms, which approximately happened between the Enlightenment period and the modern period. First off, World War I was just because we went crazy and we just went to war. Everybody had allies. And this whole Age of Isms, we came up with all these radical ideas, from Christianism to any ism that there possibly was. And one of the worst ones possible was nationalism, right? Which is tearing up the whole thing right now. So we're not putting places on, we're not going to war and saying, please keep your culture. That's not what we're doing. We're Americanizing everything. And they don't like that. And as long as you keep putting your culture on other people, they're going to fight. Case in point, I move in with you. I say, hey, this is how stuff going to run now. See how you just don't like that?
Oh, no.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? I mean, this make common sense with just regular people talking, right? The real issue is money, and it always will be. For one, we don't have a lack of money because we just printed it. It has no value, right? We scared everybody, said we're going to take up all your gold. It's illegal to have it. That was a lie. What we wanted to do, as long as gold was out there backing up money, they couldn't do what they do now. Every time, first off, you can't have a single dollar without a debt first. That's the way our money works. We borrow, the United States government borrows from what you call the Federal Reserve, which is not a federal anything. It's just a nice name, propaganda or PR, which is what we like to say. And then they say, well, you owe me this. And the government says, well, yeah, I owe you that, but I'm gonna make Titan pay it because I'm not gonna pay it. I'm gonna pay it off by making him pay it off. That's what happens.
I don't know about that.
That's called taxes, right? You know what I'm saying? Yeah,
right.
that's called income taxes, which makes absolutely no sense. Remember, America was a country that said, "Damn, please stop taxing my income." We said that. No Federal Reserve, right? No bank in England doing that. And then Andrew Jackson, and we got the bank all back. The problem is money, and it never stopped being money. Here's the problem. The problem is that the wars are profitable, not to the 97% of Americans. It is profitable to the corporations and the governments who get to keep on cashing in. And anyone who's benefiting from that, which is every politician there is. That is the problem. The problem is war is big business. It is big business for me to make up a law to build a $1 billion jet in which we no longer need. Just Google it right now. Our generals asked the government last year, please stop building tanks. We have too many. We kept building. Why? Because here's the sneakiest thing we do as a government. We pass a bill, and then you say, can't do that on the bill. They say, okay, bill's been defeated. Ladies and gentlemen, we've listened to you. That's not what happened. They did listen to you by letting that bill go. And now they pass a bill to build some battle jet. and they dog ear.
Exactly.
They put everything that failed, they put it on that bill. So when you pass this bill,
That one.
you immediately get all the funding
Right.
for every single thing else that was denied.
Exactly.
And the best way to hide that is war. Right? War funds all my selfishness. To stop that would to stop me from getting money, and that's a problem.
See,
That is a problem.
that is-
So real quick, just closing. You know, we're having about 30 minutes left of the show. I know we kind of threw you guys in here as well too.
I enjoy
But-
y'all.
Any kind of closing remarks, people listening to the show Facebook Live that have maybe not seen. Did you want to go ahead and maybe repeat where they can find the first Outcry, because it's currently on Amazon. So where do you search on Amazon? How do you find it?
Yeah.
What do you Google? What do you type in the search to look for it? And then
Yeah, so you can actually go to the normalanomaly.org. Sorry about that.
Sorry.
Yeah, you can actually go to the normalanomaly.org. It has the trailer and the link on the About page. Also, if you're searching on Prime Video, just type in Outcry the mini doc and it'll come up. We're excited to be showing it this Thursday, September 12th at 7. Red carpet starts at 6:30. Once again, I'm black, but I'm on time. So I'll be the guy in the Giuseppe's, by the way. No, no, but
I couldn't even get the mic on top of me.
So yeah, super excited. You can follow us on the Normal Anomaly on Facebook, on Instagram. Yeah, thank you.
and you should,
It is right there.
That's
Yes.
it.
There
That's
you go.
it. Yes.
Look at that, you guys. It is
It's
for real.
included with my prime. Look at that.
Anything else? So how can people find you? Oh, you did say that.
Yeah, you can
It's
follow
on-
me on Facebook at Ian L. Haddock. Yes, Ian L. Haddock. I think I'm unfortunately out of space for friends. But
Delete people that's inactive.
you can follow me at Ian
You
L.
can follow.
Haddock. No,
Just click the friend- just click the friend request,
if
you'll
you
follow.
follow me, if you follow
Yeah.
me and you know we engage. You got some engaging stuff. I got some engaging stuff. Child, there's so many
That's
people
how
on there I
it is.
delete.
I need to be on
Yeah.
the next one, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, buddy. I'm
I
looking.
really want to come on.
No, I'm down.
Yeah.
Y'all need to talk. Y'all, what y'all got to say?
Any
Who's on the
closing?
mic? You got screwed today.
What happened?
Well, went to the
He-
90s.
So closing remarks. I'm sure you're going to be there as well too, right?
Yes, going to be there. I just closing. Just come check it out. Just come hear the outcry, our community's outcry. It's conversations that need to be had, and I think that this is more of a family type of showing or premiere or viewing, if you would, because I think the family needs to be the cornerstone of what happened. We're talking about the church. We get that part. But a lot of times your mother, your father, your aunt, your uncles, they shunned you, kicked you out of your home for doing, so it's one of those things. So with that, I ask that you come out, check it out. Was already sold out, but hopefully we'll have another showing or premiere. But I think that we just want people to really, really take it in for what it is, and then digest it for what it is. I don't know if that makes sense, right?
Yes, that,
Right.
that
No,
definitely
not-
makes sense.
Don't put anything on it. Just take it for what it is, so you can understand where we're coming from, right? Because a lot of people think we're just bashing the church, and that's not what we're actually doing. What we're doing is just opening up to be able to say, okay, hey,
Conversation.
this is what exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Real talk.
Anybody else? Go ahead.
Y'all can follow us at the Normal Anomaly, as Ian said. I am Kimmy Doll, and I'm probably gonna be somewhere with Ian. So if you see him, you see me.
Right.
All right,
She's gonna have
Mr.
one
President.
of
I see
I wear draws.
these people are mic shy, so Do you guys have any questions for our president? You guys are here. You guys have.
No,
you guys
I
have
was
a
serious about inviting you on the Real Gag. I don't know if you
Appreciate it.
have heard of us, listened to us, saw us anywhere, but not in regards to the president thing. I honestly would like to have you come on so we could talk about being woke.
Ooh,
And I don't
talking
know.
my language.
I mean, I've been pretty
Yes.
quiet here, so do your research, listen to the Real Gag, look
I'm
us up,
already
watch
there.
a Facebook,
She right there. She booked me right now. Hey,
The Real
as soon
Gag,
as we done.
so that you can know where we're coming from. Because
Nah.
it's straight talk, no chasing.
Oh, I need to be there.
All right,
I
baby.
need to be
Straight
there.
talk, no chasing.
I need
Yeah,
to be
You
there.
guys
we
have been-
get
you
to
guys
the
have
bottom
been-
line.
You guys have been super mic shy with me on POZ Impact, but when you guys are on Wednesdays, you guys go at it.
I mean,
We're just being Mike shy tonight because
Yeah,
it's about
because
the
it's-
outcry.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
you know,
well, not necessarily Mike Shaw,
Yeah.
but at the same time, I have learned that this is my brother's baby, and I am simply here to support him. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yes.
It does.
So, yeah, when we talk about the Real Gag, that's all of our babies, and I talk big buku shit on there. So I can't really talk a lot of shit here, but I am
I
knowledgeable
gotta
on the
get on the
subject
show.
matter. You get what I'm
Yes,
saying?
yes.
She
So
gonna
yeah,
I appreciate it.
I appreciate the
and
invite
it is,
too. Real
yes.
talk.
it was really an honor for me to have you guys on here to talk
Thank
about
you.
the show.
Thank you.
And because we want to be able to talk about the church, we want to be able to talk about HIV, we want to talk about mental health illness, and how that oscillates. It doesn't have a face. It can be anybody out there, and you guys are so passionate, and so I'm so thankful that you guys came.
Yeah.
And out of the blue, it was really a last minute thing. So I definitely thank you so much for showing up and talking about this important documentary series that from start to finish is like you said, it was your baby. So we're definitely thankful. So we're just gonna go ahead, since you guys are being a little bit shy with me, we're just gonna go ahead and start with this, finish up with our president here, and making sure we start asking him some questions. And you guys don't have any questions for him?
No.
Nothing?
I ain't tripping.
Oh.
I ain't
All right, guys. So
I'm ready.
what is your vision? What is your what is your plan for the first 100 days? That you talked about, that's the honeymoon. A lot of people put out what the first 100 days is going to be.
Yep.
As president, what do you see as your main goal for the first 100 days to do in office once you get into office, other than Clorox the entire house?
Yeah, right. Yeah. I got 3 major things that I want to do. Man, hey, y'all doing y'all
I'm
thing
just
for
kidding.
real. For real. Yeah, look, y'all gotta check them out. They doing their thing right there. Seriously.
I'm not going to get a picture with you guys,
Seriously.
but it's okay.
Nah, get a picture now, man. I can hold on and get a picture now. Look, I
I don't
sing
have-
ABC. ABC. So I ain't no dead space. Yeah, they finna
No,
get a
it's
picture.
okay.
Oh.
Yeah, it's okay. We'll get a picture.
We'll
We'll
get
get
a
a picture
At the
at the
premiere.
event.
Yeah.
Yes, for
The
sure.
event. Man, appreciate y'all. Real talk. Real talk. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yes, you guys. We're so happy. And if you guys are just tuning in, you guys have been listening to POZ Impact. We are Houston's first radio show dedicated to people living with HIV, their friends and
Oh,
family,
okay. Cool.
on Real Talk 100 Radio. I forgot to give out
So
the
I
call
can say
number,
that.
but if you guys have questions for our future president, please give us a call at 281-318-8650. If you have any kind of questions regarding presidential questions, because the new anomaly has left the building.
Left the
But
building.
we are super excited that they were here with us to talk about the
That's
documentary series. But turning back to our president, our future president, what is your goal for the first 100 days?
Yeah, my goal, you got to turn it. I got a 3-part goal for the first 100 days. All of them are aggressive. None of them raises taxes, okay? Every bit aggressive. None of them raises taxes. I kind of mentioned one. I'll explain that now. What I want to do is I want to fix climate change, combat climate change immediately, and wipe out all student loans immediately. And it's with that carbon emission fee that I was talking about. You take all that money, then wipe out all the student loans. The second thing I want to do is I want to attack more, so student loans, and I want to give more to education. I want to raise all teacher salaries in the United States to $92,000 a year without raising a single tax. And the reason I want to do that, for one, that statistic I told you.
Tell me why you want to raise teacher salaries. I feel like teacher salaries are so low, and this is something that has to be done.
It has to be
done.
And it would have severe, in a positive way, major positive impacts on America's economy, right? Because so many school teachers. There's so many school teachers. So and when they're government employees. So you take all these government employees, you give them this $92,000 salary, which is in some cases 120% pay raise. Now, what that does, without doing a stimulus package and without raising the tax, because what you do is you take that carbon emission fee and put it over there, it will then stimulate the economy in every single place. What do teachers do? First off, they eat, obviously.
Yep.
They're all going to go buy houses. They're all going to go buy cars, which will immediately fix America's car industry. They're all going to buy gadgets and doodads and cell phones, and I guarantee you, most of them are going to clean up their credit, right? So you're talking about all these credit cards getting paid off, everybody cleaning up their credit.
Them credit card companies are not really happy with you right now.
Exactly. So you're talking about stimulating banks, stimulating credit card parties. Trying to think of the name right, credit issuers, stimulating every restaurant, every construction, new home constructions. You take care of the teachers, you take care of maybe 40 different industries by just taking care of the teachers. Not to mention Home Depot and Staples stock is going through the roof, through the roof, because you got to buy all the pencils and stuff, right? So that's the second thing I want to do. First, I'll repeat, the carbon emissions, which take care of the student loans. That's all one together. The second one is whatever I just said just now, the teacher salary.
Yes.
And the third, popular amongst the people, not popular amongst corporations, we really got to fix maternity leave. That's fourth. Universal health care is right on my list in our first 100 days, right? Universal health care, it just absolutely needs to be done. And if I could squeeze in a fourth one, it would be the maternity leave.
What does universal health care look for you, our homeless population? If you don't have an address, you can't get benefits. So, So when we talk about universal health care, yes, I can have health care. Yes, you can have health care. But what about the person living on the bridge? Can they have health care as well too?
Absolutely. Universal health care is universal, not universal to the people that I like, right? Once again. And we got to fix that. I mean, you bring up a really good point. If you don't have an address, you can't get health care. But if you don't have an address, you can't get a license or ID.
Yeah.
So it's this incredible trap. What I propose to do is I want to incentivize the insurance and the healthcare system to take care of people like that. And the only way to do that is money talks, right? So you got to pay people. We're going to have to literally incentivize with money. You get this tax break, you get this, you get that, you get this pay raise for accepting this many homeless people per month, et cetera, et cetera. It's the only way it's going to happen is that we literally start paying for it. It is a truth. I wish it wasn't that way, but money does make the world go round, and we just need to know that it will continue to make the world go round in this case. So you take entrepreneurs, and there's plenty of them, right? You have nonprofits that want to help. We incentivize these entrepreneurs who are already in the lower middle class in most cases. We give them tax breaks. We give them all sorts of stuff to create systems in which their businesses can be used as the address for homeless people, which then allows them to get a license, which then allows them to qualify for universal health care. So yeah, that's what I would do.
And we talked about climate change a little bit, but
Yeah.
climate change is
Major.
is major, and we talked about cars. So do you believe, or would you suggest in getting away from carbon emissions?
Sure.
And like get everybody have an electric vehicle, or would you really incentivize instead of cars, mass public transportation? So like
Good
transportation
question.
like New York has, or transportation, where
Yeah.
people still use cars, but they're still, you can get around the metro pretty
Yeah.
easily. Here it'll take you a whole day to get there from point A to point
Yeah.
B here
Yeah.
in Houston. But so is your main goal, you think, maybe having cars, electric cars, or putting more money into infrastructure where we can pay for community rail, or we can pay for subways, or mass mass public transportation. That's what we need, and not just in
That's a
one
good
city,
question.
in one state, but in all states.
That's right.
You
That's
know,
a fantastic
so
question. Yeah, so that's an issue that has to be bifurcated. Plus, we'll deal with the peripheral issues in there as well. So public transportation is going to always be the best way because it's carpooling, right? But it's just carpooling on steroids. You're talking about a bunch of people riding, which automatically, mathematically reduces the emissions that are going out into the air. So public transportation, you're definitely going to have to incentivize that, but not just that. We have to change the culture around public transportation because it works very well on the East Coast, nowhere else. Well, West Coast too, right? But some parts of the West Coast, California definitely. But once you start getting here in the Bible Belt and Nevada, Montana, it's almost stigmatized public transportation. I'm not riding no bus, right? So we have to change that culture too. So we have to do a little PR there to make sure public transportation is accepted and people are happy about that. The other side you do that is we do need to invest in natural energy and electric cars. We do. And we need to incentivize entrepreneurs like Elon Musk who is doing a fantastic job leading the way on this, instead of letting him nearly going bankrupt each time because it's a traditional system in which we're not going to let no one come in, build a car. That's a lot of politics. That's more politics with electrical cars versus traditional cars than it is in politics in itself, right? Because that's a fantastic place. But we incentivize electric cars, and not just electric cars, wind energy, more water energy, solar roofs, all that stuff. You incentivize everything in natural energy. Now, the reason it hasn't worked is, well, it hasn't worked for two reasons. Because you had a bunch of people throwing money, so people wasn't thinking. There was just money over there in natural energy, and they went to businesses that were poorly run with poor business plans, so that actually hurt the process. Now that technology is far better, natural energy, solar energy is far cheaper. So now it's a perfect time because now a solar roof costs exactly the same price as a traditional roof. So it actually works out well. So you incentivize that side, incentivize public transportation, you really truly fix that problem without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Go ahead, DJ.
Hey DJ, keep playing that song.
Yes.
That's a radio show. We gotta be professional.
No, you good. I got three things I want to bring up, and the first one,
Sure.
About taxes for the listeners that's on Real Talk 100 Radio.
Okay.
In the first 100 days, he was speaking on not raising taxes
At all.
Can you explain to them what taxes the government is responsible for, what taxes is the state responsible for?
Oh, that's good.
And what is the city responsible for? Because
that's even better.
can they override some of your tax plans that you're trying to
Sure
stop?
they can. Sure they can. There's
Right.
nothing I will be able to do about
Correct.
that. Yeah, absolutely nothing that I will be able to do about that unless I write an executive order. But then there's so much checks and balances. If I write an executive order too many, then they're going to say I'm a king, and then they're going to try to veto me out of there, right? Because that's exactly the way. And that's actually, while I said that sarcastically, that's actually the beautiful part of America, that checks and balances for not having one person have so much power. So that's actually a beautiful thing. But no, so you got a federal government, then it's all one government though, but you have your sovereign states, which is 50 individual governments plus territories, and then you have your cities, which is far more than what we can do. Now, the way that you all could help, but listen, this is the way you can help, but it's not going to happen statistically. And the reason it's not going to happen is because y'all don't vote for midterm elections, right? Let's just call a spade a spade. When they raise taxes on my policies that have nothing to do with taxes, not raising taxes, it is going to be because only 23% of your city voted for the midterm elections, right? That's what's actually going to happen to you on a city level and even a state level. The way you stop that is you control your own economy, you come back, and you decide that you're going to take your power in your cities and your local elections, and that will not happen. because the government still must listen to its people. The problem is the people passively allow the government to decide without the people voting. Right? That's what happens there. So in conclusion, I can't stop that. I'm not going to raise taxes, but I guarantee you they will raise taxes and then it's not called propaganda no more, excuse me, and then hit you with a PR campaign that's then going to then blame me for what they just did in your government, city, and local elections, right? That is going to happen. There is a 99% chance of that happening because we don't vote for midterm elections.
Okay. The second one, you mentioned raises for teachers.
Facts.
When it comes to raises, and you just trigger down to the question that can trigger down to this, because the state can come back and reverse some of it.
True.
But what I was going to say is it a way that you can do an executive order implement to what, what I'm trying to say is some of the teachers deserve it,
yep.
Some of them don't. So what plan can we put in effect that's going to give it to the right person who deserves it?
And that's where two great questions in there. The first one is no, they can't override it if I use my 100 days honeymoon period to make it a federal law. And they can't do anything about it, right? If I make that a federal law. Now, that second question, this is where I'm going to give you a very non-political answer, but it is facts, okay? And I'm going to answer the question directly. We have to stay out of the argument, do the right people get the money, or do the wrong teachers. This is where, and I must say this, or I'm not, or don't vote for me. The moment I try to tell a private organization or a locally run organization how to hire, then I don't deserve to represent the people. Because at the same time, the reason I'm not raising taxes, because I'm a capitalist.
Okay.
Right? Go ahead.
Correct. Well, let me rephrase it.
Okay.
What if a certain amount of teachers getting 60 or 70% of their students passing or excelling the standards? Can that be a bonus?
It would be an unfair bonus. You're speaking facts, right? Like what you're saying is extremely legitimate. The problem is there are far more well-performing schools that are currently underperforming, not because of bad teachers, because of poverty.
True.
Right? They just don't have the same, forget advantages, they don't have the same resources. There's one teacher, 39 kids, one laptop. Right, or the the internet connection is slow. Sense. Yeah, and it's far more of those schools.
Basically, what you're saying is everybody's not getting a balanced education. They're not getting the same education.
No, of course not.
No,
not
now
even close.
That makes sense. To the maybe the ones out there listening. But now this third one.
Sure, man. These great questions too, by the way.
What can the government do to eliminate these gas taxes and keep them capped? Gasoline, petrol, what can happen?
Yeah, that's not going to happen. But
I know
it is a brilliant question, my man. It is. I don't know if y'all ever saw. Obviously, he went to the gas station and actually read the fine print. It's literally posted. It's posted. It tells you that gas is $2 something, and last time I checked, it was like 90 cents is going to taxes. Right? It's crazy. I'm telling you, it is ridiculous. If you take that out, then gas would have never really went up. Right? It's absolutely ridiculous.
To me, it seemed like if it was going to be a tax, it should only be a federal, not state. Because if it's coming from POZ, this is a federal issue. If you claiming you're getting it from Saudi Arabia.
Well, you're making a lot of sense. You are absolutely correct. But the reason your correctness won't hold weight, you're correct. Right? The real talk is because it's a commodity. And as long as you have a commodity, see, I don't want everybody listening to me, you can't forget that I am a capitalist. Period, point blank. I've learned how to do the game. Mm-hmm. And with that game, as long as you have a commodity, the price is going to always go up and down due to economical factors. So as long as oil is publicly traded, it always happens. It's just the way it is. And oil has a right to be publicly traded, because as long as there are people who want oil, those people are called a market. And as long as there is a market, that market by capitalistic, by United States constitutional right, has a chance to be publicly funded, publicly operated, publicly traded, and you just can't stop that. Unfortunately, the power is against you. Fortunately, you woke enough to recognize the question. Now, can we change that? Yeah. If you and a lot of people like you get into power, and as a matter, if you stop fighting for rights and start fighting for wealth, then you just lobby. And
Wow.
yeah, you just lobby the way they doing it. They lobby to get it that way, so you lobby to change it.
So one pushback that I see a lot is that, you know, when we talk about teachers getting raises, is it across the board? Does, you know, people live in California,
Yeah.
their house, you know, it costs like $500,000 to live there. Here, you can buy a house, you know, you can buy a 1-bedroom house in California for $500,000. Here, you can buy a mansion for $500,000.
Yeah, you can.
So, giving them a pay raise, you know, is it equally to everybody? Is that this, you know, everybody? Oh, so if you're a teacher, you make this amount of money no matter where you live, or is it you live here, so you're gonna make this money? You live in a rural area, so we're gonna give you a bonus to keep good teachers in these rural areas as well too. I mean, how does that work for you?
I would make sure. Then, first off, that's probably the best. You've asked two of the best questions I've received so far, and your oil question was a fantastic question. I'm talking about through all these presidential interviews. I would make that, so you made me adjust my plan, like on the fly, right? You know, seriously,
Yeah.
I didn't think about that. I would now, in taking the data you just threw at me, because it's facts, right? It's real life data. I would make sure there's a base. I have to, because if I don't put a base, then what I would do against me is to take that leeway and say, well, rural area, you don't need 92,000 and only, right? So we're going to create a base of 92,000, and then we're going to adjust it due to cost of living, like in San Francisco, where you need $108,000 just to be broke.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Just to be broke.
Just to be broke. Like, you need $108,000 in San Francisco just to break even. That is the truth. And it's $124,000 in some areas, right? And so, in nicer parts of San Francisco. So what we do is we create a base of 92,000, and in some more higher cost of living, San Francisco, New York, places like that, then what we do is we adjust that at the base of 92 according to the cost of living, mathematically by economists, not by politicians, by economists who would then base that on the legal or the accepted cost of living. I think that would be the proper adjustment to that question.
Real quick.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
Breaking news. The Texans up by 1. They only got 37 seconds to go.
Breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. Breaking news. The Texans are up by 1.
Don't jinx them now. All right, Game Time, if they lose, I want to make sure everybody watches this stream.
I'm
like,
break news again.
I will say, DJ Game Time, he done ruined it all for all of us.
Oh, there, and you too close to the stadium for that too. We ain't that far
They
away.
out of town. They in Dallas.
Oh, they in, okay.
They in the Saints, New
Okay,
Orleans.
that explains how we ain't hit that much traffic there.
We have about 9 minutes
Man, go
left.
ahead, brother. Whatever you
And
want to do.
do you have any questions, or do you have any to tell listeners, you know, why to vote for you, or what's, you know, like, you gave so many great answers you know, to our questions, but somebody who's on the fence who's like, oh, you know what, you're an independent, you know, there is only a 2-party race here.
Yeah.
You know, it's either, that's why we have Bernie,
Yep.
that, you know, went to Democrat, because there is no independent race. You
Yep.
know, so,
Facts.
you know, so how do we get away from this 2-party system? You know, and because you are rated as an independent, so
Yep.
what is your how is your plan to achieve the votes? needed to win this race.
Yeah, facts. I'm kicking up a whole lot of dust, and I'm making sure if you want me on stage with the debates, what's stopping me right now is I believe the next debate needs 230,000 donors, independent, individual donors, just to get on stage, right? They got it like that. Most people don't know that. As a matter of fact, I didn't even know it until I started running for president. That's how it was. I would say to someone on the fence that's worried about that you man, I like this guy, and he's got great ideas, and you voted for me, don't. Right? I would literally tell you as a presidential candidate, don't vote for me. Google me, fact check me. If you like what I'm saying, if you find out it's facts, then give it to your favorite candidate. At least, right? If you can't vote for me, or if I don't have a chance to win, these ideas fix the problem. So what is more important to me? Fixing the problem, right? Or having my ego saying, or being in power, right? Fix the problem. Still for me. I am saying stuff that is literally workable, doable without raising taxes. So if you are afraid to vote for me, I don't blame you, right? I don't blame you at all. Now take my ideas, tell your candidate to use them, or put me on stage, let me talk, and then let your candidate take from me. The goal that I'm running for is for the power of the 97%. And I would be a hypocrite if I would be more concerned with my power versus the 97%. So don't vote for me. Take my ideas, fix the 97%. That's what I would say.
Wow, that's amazing. But thank you for that, as well too. I want to talk about your business a little bit, because you were mentioning the minimum wage is $22 an hour.
That's right.
And I think the last time that I met you, you were saying that you were hiring people.
Yes.
Or you I think you were on the phone, and you were saying that you were hiring people. You were hiring like 22 people. You needed 22 people to hire. $22 an hour, you guys. Minimum. That's the minimum, you guys. So when you talk about minimum, what's the maximum as well too?
Maximum is negotiable.
Okay.
Yeah, capitalist, right?
Yes.
If you exceed that value, state your number. We'll go from there. Right? Yeah.
So if somebody's trying to, what are you hiring for? What kind of positions are you looking for to hire in this, in these positions that you're looking for to fill? Sure.
So my normal answer would be, send me all your resume. Which email did I say? Do you remember what email? We did it last night. Anyway, there's the email. Just Google it. Inbox me, right?
Yes.
So, normally I would say I take any position. I love to build around people's talents, but right now, the more specific answer to the question is, I need 22 customer service people who will also learn sales, and I need one strong media person. We just hired one strong media person, preferably young, because this one other media person is older. That's not me discriminating. I'm just trying to keep it balanced, right? I'm just trying to say, hey, if you're young, but if you fit and you're older, no problem. Just this guy's not a millennial. He's older, just knows what he's doing. So I would like a millennial or younger to give people opportunity to have that balance. But, I won't discriminate against you, however that may be. And then I need one personal assistant for my business partner. That's what I'm looking for. 22 customer service people who will also do sales, one more media person, and a personal assistant or executive assistant.
What are people selling?
Yeah, so what we sell is basically business accelerator program I've created. I've kind of like Y Combinator, out there in Silicon Valley. I've created a system in which you can plug any person into my business system, and they will get to 6-7 figures, right? Do that. So what you're selling is the opportunity at very affordable costs. It's the opportunity for someone lower to middle class to get inside of a system that will bake their business to the top.
Wow, that's amazing. I wish I would have known you back in the day when I was trying to make that $22 an hour. I was fighting for pennies at $17 and $15, trying to work 5 or 6 jobs out there before I became self-employed. Yeah. But any closing remarks that you have regarding your business, regarding your presidency? Thank you so much for coming here. I really appreciate you taking the time to educate us on the facts and really come to real talk with us and be woke, like you said. telling us the hard facts is sometimes is not what we want to hear.
Right.
But if we're not asking the questions, if you're not being direct, then what can we expect?
Yeah.
So thank you
Thank you.
so much for coming on POZ Impact, and for sharing your message with us, sharing your story, sharing your vision. I think $22 an hour, you are practicing what you preach.
That's it.
So
That's it.
you're saying this is what's happening, this is what I'm doing, this is what I want, and you are making that happen.
That's it.
That's amazing. So how can somebody find you? I know you have a website, I know you have emails. Google your name. Your name is Googleable.
Yes, it is.
It's out there. You have several accounts. You're on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
You're on Facebook. You're on Twitter. You're on Snapchat. You're on TikTok.
Yes. I'm about to take that over.
I don't even know where you're not at. But for everybody to follow Antonio.
Thank you, man.
He's out there doing the work. If you're interested in making some money, he has a business plan. I'm currently reviewing his business plans because I want to make that money as well.
Go get it, man. Make it, take it.
Yes.
And I give away a lot of stuff for free. I give away
He does.
top dollar stuff for free. I do. Oh, I'm sorry. If you want to reach out to me, do me a favor. Go to pauzimpact@gmail.com. Go directly through Josh and have him contact me. I would far prefer you do that. Why? Because abundance is meant to be shared. Go through him, get through me. That way we both have a mutual connection, and it keeps my brother here in abundance.
Thank you. But no, for real though.
No, I'm serious. That's a very real answer.
You have a website. You're on Twitter. How can people reach out to you?
Sure, I've got a fan phone.
Yes.
To where I've made myself very accessible to fans and admirers or whatever. It's 409-500-1546. 409-500-1546. I answer every single text message myself. Don't call me. Okay, I have another number for that. Don't call me because I'm a millennial. I prefer text messages. Okay, don't call me. I'm not going to answer. It's way too many people, but I will answer every text. I will answer every video text with my own video text. If you want to be a part of my text message list where I give away free stuff, you can do that as well. If you want to talk to me, 409-457-6304. 409-457-6304. That's my office cell. You're more than welcome to call me there. You can Google me. You can find me on Facebook, anywhere at TheATSJR. My number one platform is actually podcast, so find me on podcast. I have like 13 of them.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Antonio.
Thank you, man.
So we're going to wrap up. Thank you guys for listening to this with our show. You have been listening to POZ Impact. We are Houston's first radio show dedicated to people living with HIV, their friends,
That's
or family,
fantastic.
on Real Talk 100 Radio. Until next Monday, it's been a pleasure. Thank you guys.
Fantastic. Thank you. I appreciate you. This was eye-opening. Oh, yeah.